Sole Supplier out of the UK is back at it again, first with the drop date for a sneaker that's huge coming down the line. And these guys, the Dark Raisins, they are saying June the 22nd. That's the very first place that I've seen the drop date. Not only that, I haven't seen the code for these guys either. Usually sneakers have a code, like a few letters and a few numbers, and that's the easiest way to go find them on the internet rather than actually looking for the name of the sneaker. But the code for these guys hasn't even come out yet. And here we are a week before Sole Supplier's drop date. And they're saying these guys are coming right around the corner, a shoe that a lot of people have been looking forward to, and it looks like it might be coming real fast to stores, at least in the UK, but I would expect elsewhere. Now, I'm here in Tokyo, Japan, and it hasn't appeared on the sneakers app here yet, but that's not to say the next 7 days aren't going to be exciting about these shoes. Now, we're going to get right into it and talk about all the features on it, and then later in the video, we'll talk more about the actual story, because that's what we've been doing these days, flipping things around and going from the detailed stuff first out into the bigger stuff rather than the bigger stuff and then into the detailed stuff. So boom, first things first, let's take a look at that swoosh on the side of these guys, because that's the dominant feature. Now, I counted 4 huge features on this shoe, and then when I was kind of getting ready for this video, researching it, getting the pictures together, stuff to go up on the green screen, they kept on tumbling with more and more features, and I'm like, man alive, this thing is hot. And I'm going to try and go through all those features for you right now. We'll start with the first of those 4, which is the swoosh on the side. It's a black tumbled leather swoosh, so if that was on its own, it would be nice and sleek on the side of these guys. But the main feature on it is that it's wrapped around with something I can only call braiding. Now, it might be because I have a 3-year-old girl, and that's why I'm focused in on it being braiding, or it might be that it actually is braiding, but to me that's what the wrap around on the outside edge of these swooshes look like, is the braiding, and it's the dominant feature, it's the thing that jumps right off of the shoe. But because it's in black and it's on a dark raisin upper, it doesn't jump right out so much. And what does jump out a little bit more is the kind of lightning embroidery that you see at the front and the back of the shoe. So if this swoosh had been in something of a different color that doesn't sort of sink into that dark raisin feel of the shoe, something that sort of jumped out from it, it might be even more popping. But as it is, it's a pretty ridiculous looking swoosh, right up there with the craziest swooshes that I've ever seen. And it doesn't just stop with the outline being in that braiding. If you run it all the way back, you can see now, I'll be somewhere on the green screen, I always get the side wrong, I'm going to go with that side. You'll see it hanging down at the back of the heel there. So then if we go and actually look at the heel flush straight on, you can see what that looks like, where that braiding comes and actually ties together and then sort of hangs down, to be honest, a bit like a ponytail at the back of the shoe there. And it's a really interesting feature, really neat feature. So it's not just wrapping around the outside edges of the swoosh, it's also coming to the back, being tied off, and then having a little bit of excess left dangling there. So that whole braided swoosh effect, point number 1. And since we're on the heel, point number 2, well, let's go have a look at that awesome branding that you get on the back of Nike Dunks. No, not today, because it's totally different. The panel itself is very cool in a very deep leather effect, very nice. B, it's extremely neat that around the edges of it, you've got what kind of looks like Frankenstein monster stitching, sort of oversized, large kind of stitches, almost like staples or something like that, but it's all in the same color as the branding panel. And then the branding itself is not the standard Nike branding that you would see on the back of a Dunk. It is, in fact, actually a debossed print on different panels on each side. So you've got the N7, and we'll get to what that N7 means at the end of the video. Like I said, keep that stuff at the end these days instead of the start. And then on the other shoe, it's got the standard sort of Nike branding, but in both cases it's debossed or pressed or printed into the leather instead of being stitches that's embroidered and embossed out of the leather. It's kind of pushed into the leather. So all the detailing on the back of the heels of these guys, very, very big. And that was point number 2. And point number 3, we'll go back to that embroidered lightning stitching. And we've got this awesome picture right here that gets you really close up with that stitching and tells you a lot more about what's going on there, especially in terms of color. I assumed that these were white, but actually what I'm feeling now is more gray and a little bit sort of lilac or something like that, a kind of pale purple feel in there, which really, really surprised me. And you get that fore and aft at the front and the toe and also on the heel, but not in between, with that kind of lightning or jagged or chevron or whatever you want to call it, stitching effect. So that's point number 3. And then point number 4 is you go around to the tongues and have a look at what's going on there. And again, that standard kind of tongue construction is completely out of the window. Now, this is where things got interesting for me, because I was just looking at it, thinking about the big long leather panel panel on the front there. That's interesting branding, that's interesting style, interesting construction. We're done there, but then, oh, a second little look, we come back and have a look at it, and there's a bit more detailing going on in there. In particular, I think I'm right in saying, I hope I get this right, it's three different things that I want to look at. One was the branding on there from Nike, so hopefully there'll be a way to see the Nike branding and the N7 branding. I think I'm right in saying both are on there. I'm almost certain about the N7 branding, but I'm not 100% sure about the Nike branding, but I'm pretty sure they're debossed in there again, sort of like, what's the word? Oh, there's a word for it when you sort of use something really, really hot to brand, you know, like a piece of leather like this. But what's more interesting to me, not just the size there, not just the branding on there, but actually if you go right down to the bottom, hopefully I'll be showing it up right here. It says something like design for 7 generations, which I thought was a pretty neat little piece of talking point at the bottom of that branding panel. And then right below that, what's very rare on Dunks is to get Dubrays. You don't usually see Dubrays like this. You normally see these on, say, Air Force Ones, but here we are today seeing them on Dunks, and very simple, matches that upper, the sort of branding panel up there on the tongues in their colour and their construction and their materials, and also with that simple kind of faded in Nike branding on there. And then the last thing to sort of do is to go back from the tongues and into the insoles, and you see again the N7 branding there with the circle, and the circle's kind of multicoloured around the outside edge of it. So that kind of finishes off the story of the shoe, all the main hits of it. Oh, but I did forget to mention the gum sole, so we might as well go out and have a look at the full shoe. Hopefully you're looking at that from the side, and you can see that down below it's like a gum sole sandwich. You've got the light tan kind of feel that goes on the tongues up there, and then the gum soles themselves down below in the same kind of colours. But then now we move into the part of the video that's kind of the talk about the place, the shoe itself, where the shoe comes in the history of shoes, if you like, because usually I would have done this at the start, but what I was thinking, people out there probably want to know more about the shoe and the details on it first, and then we'll get into the story of it. And the story of it is, it's part of a 3-pack. There's 3 different shoes coming out, and I can't remember who the other 2 athletes are. I'm pretty sure one of them is a basketball player. It might be Kyrie Irving, but this right here is Lyle Thompson, a lacrosse player. Know nothing about him, know nothing about lacrosse. Just researching this video told me about him and his tie-up to this shoe, and particularly the N7. It's like a community outreach kind of charity program at Nike that's all about giving back to communities, especially in the US. I think maybe exclusively in the US. I don't think there's outreach worldwide. I don't think there's an international thing that's going on there. I think it's very much centered on the US, and so it's a charity thing, a give back thing, a part of the community thing, the N7 movement. And to be honest, you know, I say this at my channel all the time. It's even written up there, and it has been from the year dot, that one of the things the reasons I made a channel like this was so I could learn, and I truly value learning and not hiding from the fact that I don't know certain things. And one of the things I'd never ever heard about was the N7 movement at Nike. I've never even, don't know anything about it at all. I'm really surprised to see it. I mean, I've had this channel for 2.5 years, and the fact that I haven't seen anything from this N7 sort of side of things, maybe that's my fault for not looking hard enough, or maybe it's just not out there as much as you know, other sort of elements. There was something else from Nike, from the Jordan line actually, now that I think about it, a pair of Jordan 5s, and it was the Wings, is it the Wings movement? That was this year that came up. You know, again, first time I'd seen that, and it's all about, you know, giving back. I think it was more to do with scholarships and more to do with you know, helping people out of poverty and get into a cycle of education with further education and stuff like that. So I think it's the Wings. I don't know if it's Wings movement or institution or charity or whatever it's called over the Jordan line. And then we've got this here, and I don't even know if this N7 is just for Dunks or if it's Nike wide. I'm pretty sure the other 2 shoes in this pack are not Dunks, so maybe it's Nike wide, but it's not something I know much about or anything about, except for what I've just told you in this video, because basically researched it for this video. But it's an interesting, you know, element to the shoe, and probably a big story in there, because a large part of the money that goes in to that N7 comes from people buying shoes like this. So dig your hands into your pockets, grab yourself a pair, help support the community, and also get yourself a really, really unique pair of shoes. I wouldn't be surprised if these guys have dunk heads sort of swiveling left and right trying to get their hands on a pair. And that's it. You know, hopefully we're getting into a rhythm of these sort of different styles of videos, doing the first bit first and the second bit second. And I just realized I didn't do my signature sort of middle bit where I say this is the Tokyo Butter 23 sneaker channel, and that might be sort of drifting away because we're getting out of that kind of pattern that I was doing for many years, and doing the sort of hits of the shoe first and then the stories of it next. But I kind of like that kind of title theme part of it. So maybe it's going to drift away. You know, as things change, things evolve. Tokyo Butter 23 channel is evolving right now. So and with that being said, it's time to wrap this one up. So hopefully you guys appreciate this look at this incredible Dunk Low. It's a really insane sneaker, and that drop date that Soul Supplier in the UK is telling us is coming on June the 22nd. So something to look out for. For now though, time to wrap this one up. Thank you guys for checking out the content, and I'll say what I say at the end of every single video, which is I do this every single day. So you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.